Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is called The Light is in the Lesson. And as usual, I will begin this podcast with a quote. Life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. And that's a quote by Steve Maraboli. I know we've talked about resilience before, but like I've said in the past, certain themes, a lot of themes have been reoccurring in my life lately, and I just want to kind of tie them to experiences more as talk about them from like a strategical standpoint. Yesterday morning, I was listening to a podcast, and the speaker stated that people always say that you have to have a changed mind, you have to have a renewed mind. I know that I've said that time and time again that it's crucial that we change our mindset because our thoughts, we have to conquer our mindset first. And then once we conquer our mindset first, then everything else is going to fall like dominoes. Once our mind is right, we can get our spirit right, we can get our body right, we can get our external environment correct. But I haven't really stated what that really means. I haven't really said like what's renewed mind. I mean, of course, in theory, a renewed mind is getting yourself out of the thinking that has led you to making decisions that are other than what you need in your life or other than what will be successful. But it's been a broad kind of subject. It's been a really general kind of conversation. We've talked about other things like persistence, discipline, focus, drive, all the components of it. But one of the key components that we've also covered is resiliency. And the speaker of this podcast said that what he means by a changed mind or a renewed mind is resiliency, having a resilient mind. Resiliency is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. The ability to bounce back, that semper gumby that we've always talked about, how, something bad happens to you when you don't dwell on it or let it, pull you down into a hole or pull you down to a dark place, or that spiral, that thought spiral that we get in where it starts with one bad thought and then it kind of leads to another, and then we end up going down the spiral and we find ourselves at rock bottom or in a hard place. And it can be difficult at times to get from that hard place to a better place. But if we control ourselves before we get into that funnel, before we build momentum, and that momentum pulls us down into that pattern of darkness or bad thoughts, then we could stop ourselves from getting to rock bottom or from getting to that hard place. Hardships happen to everyone. We're not uniquely special in the fact that we don't experience hardships, we don't experience difficulties. Why not you? Why not you? Why not you are the person who gets broken up with? Why not you are the person that doesn't get that job that you want? That things don't go the way that you want them to go. My life has definitely been a testament to that. I've definitely not had a life or an experience in this life journey that has been a straight line or that has been what I thought it would be. I definitely have, kind of taken a long way around some obstacles. I've dealt with situations as they've come and gone. I adapted here and adapted there and did what I had to do to get to the point that I'm at today. And that's not a bad thing. Again, life is a journey, and it's seldom that things go in a straight line, that things go the way that you have them planned in your head or you have them set out on a piece of paper. Again, sometimes in life it does. Sometimes people do experience that the fortune of having things just fall in place for them. The exception doesn't beat the rule. Everybody has difficulties and hurdles that they got to climb. They're just different for different people. But resiliency is still the same no matter what the setting. Whether you're dealing with a setback of one nature or another, resiliency is still going to be there whether or not you feel that you're fortunate or not. Again, it's a mindset. What you perceive, you believe. So if you believe you're misfortunate, you're going to be misfortunate, or that's going to be your experience. You control that. Resilient people do experience stress, setbacks, and difficult emotions, but they tap into their strengths and seek help from support systems to overcome challenges and work through their problems. Resilience empowers people to accept and adapt situations and move forward. Again, one of the things that's kind of helped me is that statement that we went over before, a little bit early in the podcast, where I said, problems are not exclusively, difficulties don't belong to you. The world is not only happening to you. There's tons of other people that are experiencing difficulties, failures, setbacks. Life isn't going their way. It is what it is. What are you going to do about it? You can't complain about how unfair you feel that life is, because just by complaining, you're still going to be in that place. You're not going to move anywhere, not even a little bit. The problem still persists. So what are you going to do to move yourself forward? What are you going to do to get yourself out of that rut or to get yourself closer to that goal? And what I have done in my life is I've adapted, I've overcome, and I've achieved. I'm big on mantras, and that's one of my big three. We're going to go over a few here that you've heard me say time and time again. Adapt, overcome, and achieve is one of those things. You got to adapt to what you see in front of you. Whether it's a roadblock, a setback, you experience a failure, even success. Sometimes people let success go to their head. I definitely let early success go to my head, and that caused me to stumble a little bit because it put me in a mindset of where I felt I couldn't fail. And failure is definitely a part of the journey, as me and you both know. So you got to adapt to what you have, what you see in front of you, and not let things get to your head. If you experience success, experience the success the same way you experience the failure. Okay, I'm here, I've made it or I haven't made it. What's the next move? Where do I go from here? Left, right, up the middle? It doesn't matter, but I got to make a move. I can't just dwell on this and not create any forward momentum and just stay stuck, based on success or the failure. So first you adapt, next you overcome. What's the best way to get over the hurdle that you face? What's the best way to get over the failure that you experienced? What's the best way to push yourself to that next level of success or that next mountain that you have to climb? I feel that sometimes people get stuck. They dwell on success and failures, and in getting stuck, they lose momentum. They lose that momentum that they created that helped them get to the success or helped them get to a certain point, and they experience failure, and then they just kind of dwell in it, throw a pity party or feel like they made it. But you got to overcome. What's that next thing? You got to keep on pushing. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on driving. You can't just stay stagnant. You can't kill your momentum. It makes it that much harder to start all over again. It's comparable to the fact like when you're running around the track and you got to run a mile, and maybe you're out of shape. You haven't ran as much as you want to, but you stop because you're hurting, because it feels bad. It's that much harder to get back up to speed once you start and you're tired. I've experienced it a ton of times. Yesterday I ran 2 miles, and it's been a while since I ran, and that pain is real. So I tried my hardest not to stop, because I knew that, number one, it would take me longer, and number two, it sucks starting back up after you stop. So we got to keep that momentum. We got to keep pushing forward. So first you adapt, then you overcome, then you achieve. Achieve another level of success. Achieve despite your failure. Achieve in the midst of roadblocks and adversity. And move on to the next thing. And acquire that next goal, that next level, that next dream, that next milestone. Whatever it is that you have in front of you, you want to achieve. And just keep that momentum going. Build, a ladder to that next level of success. Do what you can where you're at with what you have. That's another big one that I always talk about. That's all that we can do. That's all that we can do. Like, you just have to be able to look at the situation and just break that situation down. Where am I? Who am I? What can I do? What tools do I have? You have to be self-aware. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be conscious of what you're doing, why you're doing it for. All these little things. We talk about it now, and when it really happens, sometimes it happens in a split second. Sometimes things can be drawn out. You can draw them on paper. You can sit down. You can think about it. You can plan. But sometimes this stuff happens in a split second, and you just have to know the difference. You don't have to rush to do everything. Everything isn't a situation that has to be go 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 go. We can chill. We can sit down. We can think. We can plan. We can revise. We can fix. We can edit. We can make a new plan. Take the time to create your existence. Take the time to decide on which path you're going to take and how your journey is going to go. Now, some things are going to happen in your journey that you can't control, but again, it is what it is. Adapt, overcome, and achieve. You still got to make it to your goal despite all the things that might come in and out of your journey, all the experiences that you might have. If you have no light, be the light. It's not always going to be daytime. It's not always going to be beautiful weather. It's not always going to be sunny and 70. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be nights. There's going to be valleys. You're not always going to be on top of the mountain. When you're in those situations and you feel like you don't have any light in your life, anyone to look to, anything to focus on, go back to your foundation. Be that light for yourself. Remember who you are, what you've done, what you've been through, what you've experienced, how you overcame so many different obstacles, because everybody's overcome obstacles in some capacity. Just remember who you are and what you've done, where you're at, how you got to where you're at, and be the light. Remember that cookie jar that I said I picked up from David Goggins. Just have a cookie jar, and every time you're just in the suck or in a position that is really, really painful or uncomfortable, go back in the cookie jar and be like, oh, this is who I am. This is what I've gone through. No situation can belittle me from who I am, because only you can allow a situation to belittle you. Again, it's that control that you have over your internal environment that controls how you feel, your emotions, your thoughts, and then in turn that controls your external environment. So be the light for yourself. You don't always have to have somebody there for you, even though that's nice. Sometimes you got to be there for yourself. Sometimes you got to be your own light. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, but it is what it is. Remember your why, that fixed point that you have set out in front of you, and focus on it. Sometimes remembering who you are and what your mission is what it's going to take for you to get through that adversity, what it's going to take for you to be resilient. One of the big pushes in my life, one of the big things that forces me to be resilient are my daughters. I can't afford to just sit and throw pity parties or be in a slump, or be other than. I got to be my best self. I'm attempting to be my best self. I try to be 1% better every day, and I try to put one foot in front of the other and make things happen. And every day is not a good day, but I live every day, and I attempt to make a better existence, not only for myself but for those behind me, including my daughter. And that's what drives me. That's my focus in times of adversity and when I'm in that valley, that dark place. And I would encourage you to get something that you could focus on as well, something that could help pull you out of that dark place, help you remember who you are and what you got to do other than that cookie jar. That cookie jar might get you motivated, might get you driven, might get you pumped up, but that reason why will give you focus. And once you have that focus, once you see that destination you have to reach, that finish line you have to cross, even though there is no finish line, but if you have an objective that you can attain, that you can reach, that you can train to, that you can accomplish, it makes your journey worthwhile. It makes the pain and the suffering worth it. It makes the discomfort worth it. Strategy over impulse. Control your thoughts. T4. Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. This is why I say it's so important for you to control your internal environment, because your internal environment controls your external experience. So if your thoughts are not in the right place, if you don't have a renewed mind, if you don't have a resilient mind, then your experience largely on the outside, on the external, is going to be other than. And what I mean by other than is other than what you want to experience. It's going to be other than what you want for your life. It's going to largely be you reacting to something instead of you being proactive and then that thing happening in your life, instead of you having the control and instead of going along for the ride. So control your thoughts, control where your focus goes, control your energy, and then once you master that, everything else will fall like a domino. You get your mind right, you can get your body right, you can get your spirit right. And once you're on that level plane of where you got your mind, body, and spirit in the right place, focused and attentive and aware, then you'll accomplish great things. And that's what I'm really hoping and striving and focusing on trying to get to, is the point where I just have all three on a balanced plane. And it's not a place that you reach and you constantly stay there. It's I always feel like it's a spectrum. There's your lower self and there's your higher self. And you're always trying to attain, enlightenment, or that objective of being your higher self. And there are times in your life when you reach it, or you may reach it, and then there's, experiences in your life where you may be your lower self, or acting impulsive, or in your animalistic nature. But, it's a spectrum that you ride through, and you ride through it daily. And the goal is to be your higher self and stay on that higher part of the spectrum more often than you stay at that lower part of the spectrum, that you stay in your animalistic nature. The things you don't feel like doing is probably what you need to do. Again, we've talked about this time and time again. This is resiliency. Doing things despite how you feel, doing things despite the discomfort, doing things because they need to be done. That's resiliency. That's discipline. All the characteristics that we talked about. You need to get up, you need to move, because when we have these bad thoughts, when we get stuck in a bad place, when we experience stress, our body just wants to do anything other than what it needs to do. It doesn't want to work out. It doesn't want to eat right. It doesn't want to be productive. It wants to be lazy. Unless you train past all of that stuff. When you feel like you don't want to work out, go work out. When you feel like you don't want to be productive, go do something. When you feel like you don't want to eat right, make sure you realize that, your health goals and your health journey, and that in this moment, making that decision will not be productive or help you achieve your goal of whatever that is. We have to remember these things even in the bad times, because that's one of the aspects of our anchor, what's going to help pull us back to those good times. Practice makes permanent. That's something that I got from Eric Thomas. It doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. Again, you got to get those reps in. You got to get that practice in. You got to train yourself to a standard. Once you train yourself to the standard, it'll become easier and easier and easier over time to pull yourself out of that darkness, out of that valley. But we have to train to a standard. Practice makes permanent. And that's how you do it. Start with you. Create an environment internally where resilience can grow. You have to create in yourself an environment where those characteristics that you're trying to develop can grow. Resilience, discipline, persistence, courage, decisiveness, like all of those characteristics that you want to have, that leaders and warriors have. You need to create an environment for that to happen. And the ways that you can kind of create that environment, that you can foster resilience, is to, well, I got I always give lists, right? I forgot to give my little setup. I jumped ahead of myself, forgive me. I always like to give lists. These are 5 key ways that you could help to foster resilience in your life. I'll also include a link to in my show notes to the article that has way more than just 5. I believe it has 20. But these are just 5 to kind of get the wheels turning and you start thinking. Prioritize relationships. That's number 1. Connect with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone in the midst of difficulties. You're not alone. Having bad situations is not only unique to you. It's not only unique in your experience. There's tons of people in the world having a worse experience than you're having. You know, there's people that get up and are hungry every day, or got to travel miles to get water, or their country is torn apart by war. You know, you're like, everybody likes to focus on their bubble, you know, what goes on in their existence and their life, and how their experience is going. But there's a world outside of you. There are people outside of you that are having a way worse experience than you're having. And you need to realize that, you know, you're not the center of the universe. You're not the end all be all. You know, it's there's a bigger concept at work, a bigger construct at work than just you. You know. Number 2, take care of your body. Self-care is also a legitimate practice for mental health and building resilience. Again, you got to work out, you got to walk, you got to run, you got to do whatever you got to do to get your body physically fit, because a physically fit body can handle stress better. It can handle difficulties better. It can handle abrupt changes in your life better. You know, mind, body, spirit. You know, once you have all of those three in unison, you could create the trifecta for the ideal situation to deal with whatever may happen in your life. When your mind, body, and spirit are on one plane, then you become closer to being that enlightened or that idealistic you. Number 3, practice mindfulness. Mindful journaling, yoga, and other spiritual practices like praying or meditation can also help build connections and restore hope, which can prime them to deal with situations that require resilience. Ground yourself with something religious if that's what you need to do. There's a ton of religions out there. I'm not advocating for any one of them. I'm not saying anyone is right or anyone is wrong, but you know, everybody's journey is different. You know, I meditate, I journal, and that helps me kind of vent a little bit. That helps me get centered. It helps me get grounded. It helps me control my energy. It helps me to focus on the things that are important, that matter. And it's all about finding those practices that are productive, that you can commonly or consistently run back to, and that can be that foundation where you can always springboard from that back into life. You know, you go through a bad experience or you go through a rut, you run back to your foundation, and you're back in the fight. You know, you just get to a place where you can get centered, you can get balanced, you can control your energy, control your thoughts, control your focus, you know, get everything back in perspective, and get back out there, because you still got to fight. You know, take a break if you need to, take a moment if you need to, but you still got to fight. You still got to keep going. You know, you still got to persist. As long as you got air in your lungs, you still got energy, or you still got the ability to fight. Keep moving, keep that momentum. Avoid negative outlets. It may be tempting to mask your pain with alcohol, drugs, or other substances, but that's like putting a bandage on a deep wound. Again, fix your internal environment, and then your external environment will reflect. Drugs, alcohol, all of that other stuff, it's not going to help you. Gambling or indulging in any other type of vice is not going to help you at the end of the day. Look at all the other people that have gone before you that have tried to use those outlets. It's never beneficial. It's never worked. So don't think it's going to work for you. Find positive outlets. Go work out, go run, go meditate, draw, listen to music, play music, go talk and hang out with friends, go watch a movie, go drive around in your car, go ride your bicycle, go ride a motorcycle. I mean, there's a ton of other things that you could do to get your mind right, to get your focus, to relieve stress. But those negative outlets, those things that are satisfying at the moment but have long-term effects that are negative, we need to stay away from those things, because again, that's not being productive and not helping us to achieve our goal or helping us to become our most enlightened self. And lastly, move towards your goal. Develop some realistic goals and do something regularly. Even if it seems like a small accomplishment, that enables you to move towards the things that you want to accomplish. Life's a journey. Life's a journey. And everybody's journey is different. But everybody's journey has common characteristics, common components that help anybody who is going through this journey, experiencing life, to maneuver and accomplish their dreams and goals and become their best selves, their most enlightened self. And having a changed mind, you want to foster that characteristic of resilience. I wouldn't say resilience above all. I would say resilience in concert with discipline, resilience in concert with persistence, resilience in concert with courage, because it's going to take courage to live this life. I mean, there's a host of other characteristics that we need to foster, we need to nurture, create an internal environment where those characteristics can grow so that we can be our best selves. Because life is not about reaching a point. It's not about, once I get here, I'll be finished. Once I get here, I'll cross this finish line and I'll be done. I'll never have to fight no more. I used to think that point exists, but it doesn't. That's something we make up in our mind based on, our existence. You go through school. If I make this test, I'll be done with this grade. You play sports. If I make this touchdown, this series of plays will be over. Or if I stop this pass or catch this ball, then we always shoot this shot. It's always to a point that we're trying to achieve. But just like in all those experiences, it always resets. Once you go from one grade, you go to the next. Once you make that touchdown, well, now it's your turn on defense. Once you make that shot, now it's your turn on defense. There's always a reversal of roles or continuation of events. It never stops until the end of the game, where everything is said and done. Your efforts are recorded, they're documented, your stats are laid out, and it is what it is. It's history. It's behind you. And that's why we got to be present. Your stats are recorded. They're behind you. Everything that you've done in the past, be aware of it, but don't hold on to it. Don't let it anchor you, in the past. Hold on to it. Take the positive, put it in your cookie jar. Take the negative, use it as a lesson, but don't dwell on it. Don't let it be so powerful and so ingrained in you that it doesn't enable you to move forward. Because there is no past, there is no future, there's only the present. And our present decisions, the past has got us to where we are, but our present decisions are what is going to help us propel into the future, what's going to move us forward and closer into the goals that we're trying to achieve, which is becoming our best self.